I'm Lee, I'm guitarist for Cerebral Scar.
I'm Reese, one of the guitarists and the whippersnapper of the band.
I'm CJ, bass muppet, general mug.
I'm Stu, drummer, Cerebral Scar, rock on.
I'm Mike, the aggressive shouter, because I ain't no vocalist. Well, there's so many bands out there in so many different genres. Very, very difficult and very rare that you get one, especially in modern times, very rare you get one band which will absolutely stand out because it's a mishmash of styles which makes the band. And I think that's what makes Cerebral Scar. Obviously, I'm a newcomer to the band. I've only been in a couple of years. Something Reese said to me when we were talking about the last EP, Follow the Liar, was he doesn't really want to write the same song twice. And I think it's a really good philosophy because we want to be a bit different, but in order to keep people's ears, you've got to have something that people recognise. So all the bands that we love, there's something from each of the bands that we all love in the playing and in the way it's performed. But it's a lot of the riffs are like a mishmash of, because Reese likes Rush,
Pantera, Led Zeppelin, everything.
and that is a mishmash in itself. But you put them all together, and I love Dio, Sabbath, Cannibal Corpse, Morbid Angel. I like extreme stuff, and I try and mix that in there. And Lee, obviously, Lee likes a bit more melody and no more shreddy stuff. So that all goes in. We'll just throw it in a pot, mix it, and see what comes out. And it seems to work.
I suppose we write a set so that as if we were watching ourselves of what we would want to see a band doing on stage, basically like that.
Yeah, because there's nothing worse than going to, just say, nothing against any particular genre or any band, but if you go to see a show and there's 4 bands on, and they all sound the same, by the time you get to the 3rd band, I don't know about anybody else, but personally I'm starting to get a little bit bored. So I'm hoping that Cerebral Scar, by the time we come on, we're a bit of a refreshing, a brain refresh, a musical refresh to people.
Quite a lot to choose from. First thing springs to mind, we're doing a small UK tour with a band called Master, which is fantastic, a great time.
Really good fun.
And we played with Nervosa a couple of times, and we've done a lot of studio work with the one and only Russ Russell, and done a couple of cool videos, and done lots of gigging, and met a lot of great people.
Done quite a lot of festivals and I couldn't name them.
Get Heavy.
Get Heavy is one of them.
Yeah.
We headlined the Siege of Limerick in
Yes.
Southern Ireland. That was
Some shows in Ireland, Belfast, Dublin and Limerick,
Yeah.
and every show was
immense.
Like everyone, we got day jobs. We have full-time work to consider, we have families, we have homes to pay for, bills to pay, and other interests. So we manage to strike a balance. We rehearse when we need to. We have regular shows, and we find it pretty easy, don't we? I think?
Yeah, but also this day and age, technology is there, so we always stay in touch and plan things together, and it's easy as well doing some recording, especially for me, Reese. If we've got any ideas, it's easy to just capture it at home on some software. So it's not like the old days where you only sort of saw each other at a rehearsal and maybe a phone call once a week. So it doesn't really hold us back, even though we're all working full time. So we still can be creative and plan out gigs and
absolutely.
So it works quite well. I think the dynamics within the band, I think we all work really well. I think it all, doesn't make us weak or anything. I mean, we still keep moving forward.
Yeah, plus we're all old war horses in terms of playing in bands. We've all played in bands forever. Most of us are in our 50s, some of us are in our 40s. One of us is in our 30s. So we've been around the block a few times, and You know, we know what's required to put into a band. You know, you don't have to like, you know, basically eat, live and breathe a band 24/7. But when you are working together, you put every effort into what you're doing, and then you go away and you carry on and you enjoy life. And because, as Lee says, we all get on. No one's an arse. We find it pretty easy to do it.
Like you were saying, I mean, music and being in a band, you know, look, you know, I've been doing this years, you know, so this is part of my life, you know. It doesn't feel as if it's like work, you know. It feels that it's a great hobby, you know. You're spending time with your mates, you're being creative, you're doing some great shows, you're working with some great people, you meet some great people on the road as well.
And if you cut him in half, he's got Cerebral Scar written all the way through like a stick of rock. The local scene is not what it was in any way. I can only talk from the UK, but obviously with the onset of COVID and venues closing, there are bands about, and there are bands that support each other and go out and help each other and put stuff on. But obviously we're losing venues left, right and centre. We've got this massive gap between like the top end venues with all the big bands touring, which are really, really expensive, and then the little venues who want to put bands on but haven't got the money. It's very, very tricky, but people support each other. People in local bands support each other. So from that point of view, it's pretty Northamptonshire, where we are in central England. It's generally pretty good. All the bands know each other and get on and support each other, don't they?
Yeah, there's a lot of camaraderie. Is that the right word?
Camaraderie.
Camaraderie, even, see, between bands. Certainly from where since I've been in Cerebral Scar, we've played with some bands, and we've always made good friends. There's like a band from Wales in Which It Burns, who have sadly suffered the fate of the scene, which is, like CJ has said, it bubbles in between the big bands and the small bands, and the smaller venues are struggling because everything's so expensive, and the bigger bands are trying to make up for the COVID years. So all of a sudden, for 2 years of doing nothing and losing that income, they're banging out on the road all the time. I see the same big bands, they're out on the road, and then before you know it, they've got another album out. Because during COVID, they've recorded 2 albums. So bang, they've done it, they're out, back in, the album's out. The scene for us, when we play, we tend to get a good reception, a good reaction. I don't think we've ever had anybody come up and say we didn't enjoy you, or worse. We always seem to get invited back to venues. We talk to a lot of promoters, but like I say, the promoters are backed up with loads of bands trying to get into venues. So they've got a hard job of trying to balance between fairness, etc., etc. So, but the scene is struggling, but music is music, and it's always survived, and I think it will claw its way back up, but it might take a couple more years before it gets back to the levels that it was before. Because I know Cerebral Scar, before I joined them, they were doing really well, good gigs, good crowds, a lot of invites. I was in a band with Stu, the drummer. I was in Meat Train with him. We went to Asia, we played all over, and we were doing really well. CJ was in Dead Man's Chest, and you were obviously gigging. And then COVID basically put the brakes on the world, on everything, and we're still suffering the after effects.
We are. If I give one bit of advice to people on the local scene, though, just starting out on a band, local scene, number one bit of advice is don't be a cunt to anybody. Don't be an arsehole. Whatever word you want to edit in there, because if you have a big ego, or if you start bad mouthing people or start falling out with people, you'll get shunned very, very quickly.